Alright, today we are back in the Oakwood Zoo, once again in the world of Japan, to build for the third animal in this section, the red fox. So without further ado, let's make an amazing enclosure, and let's get right into it. Alright, so hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Oakwood Zoo, the world of Japan. This is the 5th episode of this kind of mini-series of the Oakwood Zoo. Of course, this is all in the actual Oakwood Zoo, so that's one big series, but the world of Japan has been a smaller series that we've been doing. It has been probably the most impressive part of the zoo so far as it comes along. I'm really stepping outside of my comfort zone with like the architecture kind of vibes, the style of theming here that I've rarely done outside of this specific project, so I'm really happy with that because honestly it is turning out pretty well in my opinion. So far in this series, we've done an episode for the entrance, where that little kind of opening area is, where you walk into the Japanese forests. The second episode was the giant pagoda, which is the centerpiece of this entire section, where you walk around in a loop, and that giant pagoda is the centerpiece, and where you go all the way around it for the full area. In the third episode, we started building for the animals. We started building for the red-crowned cranes. In the fourth episode, which was last week, we built for the Japanese raccoon dogs, which that was one of my personal favorite enclosures. I love all the little climbing structures and stuff we did. And in this enclosure, we were taking it a bit easier. We were doing the red fox. Now, this one is still pretty detailed. The main thing with this one that I had a bit of difficulty with was the gazebo. And this enclosure basically consists of, we have a gazebo, which is the main looking point. I will say the visibility of this one is a bit more stealthy, I guess, because in the other ones, you have these big, nice little lookouts where you can walk along the boardwalk and see the animals. And this one, you're more limited to just a gazebo, which I realize maybe that's not the best case scenario for looking at the animals, but it's also what some zoos have. Some zoos don't have as good visibility points as the others. Same thing as you're not able to see animals all the time because they could be backstage or just not out and hiding. So with this one, I did a little, it's still definitely viewable, but I did a kind of gazebo, kind of a wooden area where you can go out and look into the forest and you can see the enclosure. You're also not that close to the enclosure. You're not right up against it. You have a bit of forestry in between. You can still see them perfectly fine, but I think this gives it a nice kind of more natural look to the enclosure and a more natural feeling. So you have the gazebo, you have the outdoor area for the foxes, which I did go a bit more simple with this. I used the tropical pack, the cornice piece. I stacked them on top of each other. I don't know how realistic this area is for actually containing the foxes. I used a concrete wall, so it should prevent them in that case. But I also put a bunch of high rocks and climbing frames in the middle of the enclosure, so a fox in the actual world could possibly jump from the middle to the outside. So forgive me if it's not the most realistic enclosure I've made, but I think it's passable. And then the main thing with this enclosure is the shelter, because I feel that's a lot of the things, the buildings are really the centerpieces of these kinds of enclosures in the Japan section, because it's really me kind of just going outside of my comfort zone and trying to make these more authentically Japanese style buildings, which I think this one honestly just fits in with the rest. I've been looking at a lot of inspiration. I feel with the Japan stuff, I find it a bit hard to mix and match styles, so I often find one building that I really like the style of, and I kind of use most of it as a reference, and then add in my own kind of touches and styles and stuff, little details to make it a bit more realistic. So I will throw up the picture that I used for this one for the building inspiration. I think it looks pretty good. I didn't want to go too extreme. I was originally going to do something very similar to the crane backstage building, just the plain wooden kind of style, and I feel maybe I should have done that, but this one is also just as good. I just feel it's maybe a bit too big for the foxes, because they're such a small animal. But in the end, I think it honestly looks fine. I think it turned out decent. The building is very detailed, the wall frames and the different beams going in all different directions and stuff with the Japanese style. So I think overall that turned out pretty good, and I overall have no real major complaints about this. And as I post this, I realize that we are also getting closer to October, which is a big month for certain games. We've seen that Planet Coaster 2 has released the Sorcery Pack, their first actual DLC. I know that they released a Thrill Seekers one or something, a new rides pack right at the beginning of the launch, but that wasn't really well received, and it wasn't really that much of a DLC. And I more counted it as a deluxe edition because it really only had 4 or 5 rides and it didn't have anything else. So this new pack in September was actually their first true pack for Planet Coaster 2, which we all knew was probably coming, and I kind of predicted this, that Planet Zoo would be taking a backseat, and in other words, not happening anymore, and instead they would be going towards Planet Coaster 2 DLC, and the release of Jurassic World Evolution 3, which is also a very big thing happening this month, or this upcoming month. Jurassic World Evolution 3 is releasing, and that is, I believe, October 21st, but that is happening later this month, at the end of this month. I am very excited. I don't know if I'm going to buy it right away, or if I'm going to wait. The thing is that they're kind of intriguing me. I'm going to get the game regardless, because there's a lot of things that I do really like about this game, with what we've seen so far. There is a couple bummers. For example, I would have liked to see more brand new species coming to the roster instead of just seeing all the ones returning. I love the ones that are returning, of course, but I just prefer if we got more newer ones, especially for like the lagoons and the aviaries. Maybe they release something since I've posted this. Maybe there is another species or whatever, but so far we only have like 3 or 4 new species or new additions coming. So I might actually buy the deluxe edition just to get access to a few more species, because it comes with like 4 more species and a prop set, which I really like. I really enjoyed their very modular building, and I'm kicking myself as well right now because I really felt like they should have brought this in from the beginning, but it's whatever, because you compare it to something like Planet Zoo where they have like Jurassic World Evolution. Well, I find it funny because like all the headlines for like Jurassic World Evolution 3 are like babies, modular building, breeding systems, and we've basically had this for Planet Zoo since day one. Like, it didn't take 3 games to get this stuff, and it honestly kind of shows to me that they're really trying to milk this franchise, like the Jurassic World franchise or the Jurassic World Evolution franchise, as hard as they can to just spread out as many features as they can across these several games. So I'm wondering, I've seen the community wonder if there's going to be a Jurassic World Evolution 4 at some point, and to me I don't think they are. I feel like 3 is a good stopping point. You like kind of like the trilogy kind of, and I don't think there's a lot of things left that they can really add other than like a hybrid maker, which is way too complicated, or Cenozoics, which I think that they could definitely add those in the current Evolution 3 and a DLC or an expansion, especially because you're not relying on like movie expansions like Jurassic World Evolution 2 was with the Dominion stuff. So I don't know where it's going to go. I definitely am going to buy it because I think it's pretty clear that so far with Planet Zoo content, it is starting to narrow down in like views, because we're on the verge of probably a sequel next year. People are tending to go towards more Coaster 2 and Evolution 3. I'm personally not going towards Coaster 2 at all. I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. I love seeing the DLCs and stuff because it's just interesting to me of what they're giving to the franchise, or what they're giving to the community. But I'm not really interested in the theme park games. I've tried before with the first Planet Coaster, did not work. I played it for like a few days and got bored of it and went to Planet Zoo eventually back. So, not interested in it, but I am interested in just seeing it online and seeing what they're doing with it, because it's just nice to get updated with that stuff. But I will get Jurassic World Evolution 3, because I'm very excited for that. It looks a lot better, the graphics are a lot better. Modular building, which we are, of course, that is my jam on Planet Zoo, so I can't wait to move that over to Jurassic World Evolution 3. Babies look great. Again, it's not really a main feature for me. Again, we've seen it like Planet Zoo. It's not really anything special to me. Again, it looks more complicated in Jurassic World Evolution 3, but it's still not something I'm going to be like over the moon about, like making several videos about it. I will mostly be doing videos very similar to how we do stuff with the Planet Zoo stuff. We'll be making a park of some kind and building episode by episode, dinosaur by dinosaur, enclosure by enclosure. Simple as that, just like we've been doing for all the Planet Zoo stuff. And no, Planet Zoo will not be disappearing at all once I transition to that. We'll be simply doing both of them at the same time, and I do think that I will probably be able to manage that, or at least I don't think I'll get bored of one of the others, because I have the entire roadmap laid out for this Planet Zoo, and I am set. I do not need more DLCs. I don't need constant free updates. Of course, they are nice, but I have a solid plan. I have a solid roadmap. I know what a lot of things I want to look. I know what a lot of things I want to look like. So I am good in that regard, and I'm going to keep building this as the months come. We may reach an impasse when Planet Zoo 2 gets announced in like July next year or whatever, because if we're not done by then, that's going to be maybe a problem. But as far as it stands right now, I am not going anywhere with this zoo, and I will continue to build for it until we are finished with it, because I am determined to finish at least one zoo in the entire 6 years that Planet Zoo has been around. I am not giving up. So yeah, anyway, back to the enclosure though. So we are wrapping up the World of Japan section pretty quickly. We have built 4 and now 3 of the species going in the section. We have 1 left, which is arguably probably the most difficult for me to build for, because it's a primate, and I don't typically love building for primates, not because because I don't like building for them. I just don't have a lot of experience with it. We have built for like the Sakis in the past, and that was a bit of an exception because I do love Sakis, and I do plan to have a few more exceptions in the future. I'll probably be experimenting a bit with how to build for those guys and seeing what I can do with them. I definitely want to do some kind of island. I know I want to do some kind of island for them. So a lot of zoos do like the water moats as like, or like lemur islands. I really want to do something with that for the macaques because they are just amazing. And we're also probably going to be building for the lion-tail macaques at some point as well. But yeah, that is the last species that we have. I may also build something else because if you look at what we have left overall in the cinematic shots, I'll show the Japan section as a whole. We still have quite a bit of room to work with. So I might do something else. We could do like kind of like a heritage kind of section where we do like a Japanese village where visitors can just learn about like Japanese architecture and Japanese history. Potentially you can see that a lot in zoos and like specifically themed areas. So I might maybe do something like that. I have enjoyed building these kind of Japanese style buildings, so I don't mind doing more. The other thing that has been on my mind lately as I have been building this section is doing a Japanese restaurant because we have not touched anything with like guest services yet. We haven't built any washrooms. Well, I mean, we can obviously put washrooms, but I haven't built like an actual washroom facility yet, or of course any restaurants, which I definitely do want to do. So I really am contemplating doing something of like a Japanese restaurant where they can do like a sushi kind of style maybe restaurant or food joint. That would be really interesting. I always prefer doing restaurants over just like food trucks or just quick like food stalls. Restaurants always just feel so much more fancy to me, and I always like having those in zoos like over like diners or just snack shacks because they just feel a lot more lazy to me. We'll probably have them like like the entrance or something where you get like food stalls or food trucks because a lot of zoos do that where they like rent out companies to bring in their food trucks, and then that's like funds for them and it also benefits the zoo, so it's win-win all around. But I do personally at least like building more restaurants, so I do want to see if I can experiment with that. Maybe if I have enough energy for Japanese stuff after I built for the macaques. The macaques will probably be the next episode. After that will be the restaurant potentially, or I'll just find something else to build in that last area, and then we will be left with probably we'll see some sort of trailer I'll make for this section, and we'll do a tour of the whole section. And then from then on, I really don't know. We will probably build for some other stuff. We have to finish the desert house. That is our next big thing, and I do kind of want to do something for Halloween, so I might add a special animal to the roster of season 3 just to make kind of like a spooky kind of episode where we build for a more spooky animal, because none of the animals we build for in season 3 are really too spooky of animals. So yeah, but basically what we have left for season 3 is finishing Japan, the desert house, and just a couple of odds and ends like doing a sloth house, maned wolves, greater rhea, anteaters, and then starting with a couple starter animals in the African section that I might possibly swap out for other animals from other sections. For example, we could build for a couple animals from the Asia pack instead of the African ones and do all the African animals in one season. Potentially, I don't know. But anyway, I think that's going to have to wrap up me yapping, honestly. We've gone over a bunch of stuff. I am honestly, back to this Enclosure again, I am honestly very happy with how this turned out. I love that it's very secluded. I forgot to mention that also in this episode. I don't think I actually showcased it in the footage, but we also finished the pond or the river that was connected to the red-crowned cranes enclosure by doing kind of like a shallows kind of area or a reef kind of area with like water rapids going on the sides with lots of rocks to make it look like it's actually like rushing down or flowing down the river into that kind of pond area with the cranes. So I think that overall that kind of like brings in some continuity for that area, and then you also have the fox enclosure just off to the side of that. So I think overall it just looks pretty nice, and it had this nice little like wooded forest bamboo section. So yeah, again, in the next episode we'll be building for the last animal of this area. We will be building for the Japanese macaques. We will be building for a restaurant, maybe, and we'll be closing out this tour, or closing out this area and in this section of the zoo in the next few weeks. So I'm very excited about that. We'll also see a couple breaks and stuff, probably more Plant Zoo 2 focus videos and a ranking video whenever I get around to finishing editing it. So other than that, yeah, I think that's honestly going to be pretty much it for me. I really enjoyed this Enclosure. I hope you all enjoyed this Enclosure. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button. It means a lot lot to me, it means a lot to the channel. Recently we have been doing a bit less attentive with like views and like counts and stuff. It started to go down, especially because we've done mostly Planet Zoo related stuff, which is unfortunate because the zoo is still my main priority and I don't plan to stop. It's just unfortunate to see a bit of the views go down just a bit as we head into a time where we are not getting Planet Zoo stuff. We are now looking at waiting probably until next year for a Planet Zoo sequel. But in any case, I do hope you all enjoyed this episode. I hope you all enjoyed the series so far, and we'll be building for more animals to come in the next future weeks. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Enjoy the rest of the video, cinematic shots at the end. Bye guys, have a great rest of your day.